So a very warm welcome to you all to the Ongo Edition 2 launch. It's very exciting to be here. So before we start, I'd love to take this moment to acknowledge the country that I'm calling in from, and I'm calling in from the east coast of Australia, which is the land of the Gumbaynggirr people. And I pay my respect to the elders past, present and emerging. So you might want to take this moment to just get a sense of the place and the space that you're in as you join us for this celebration. Feeling the ground beneath your feet. Author Sharon Salzberg wrote, "Born from a clever idea." This book, Ongo, born from a clever idea to make long-term contemplative practice doable at home. This book brims with useful advice. You'll be encouraged to prioritize the values of meditative life, like compassion and clarity in the midst of your ordinary situation. And so we gather today, each of us, in our ordinary situations, our lives around the world. My experience of Ongo has been one of nourishment and great inspiration, and it definitely helped me to increase my capacity, as Sharon said, to prioritize compassion. It enhanced my clarity to know what to do next in given situations where mindfulness had helped me to stop, but the two together, mindfulness and NVC, helped me to live this in my day-to-day life. I was actually standing on the headland this morning hugging my partner and thinking about this gathering, and just realized just how much joy and connection it's enabled in my relationship, in that intimate relationship, where there'd been quite a few struggles. So just celebrating that as I come here. Celebrating that I'm a more loving and kind person in this world. Now, Catherine and Jessie, it feels like through this work and the times we've shared that they've been in my kitchen, in my lounge room, they've been out on the headlands with me. We've laughed and we've cried and we've danced together through these years that I've known you, but we haven't yet met in person, and that's a celebration of just the power of this connection. So it's with great respect and honour that I introduce first Catherine. Catherine's a mum, an educator, a storyteller and a dancer, with over 30 years of experience in the field of nonviolence, mindfulness and conflict transformation to people of all ages around the world. 25 years ago, she founded the Temba School, a visionary kindergarten to year 8 academic program which integrated nonviolent principles, mindfulness, art and peace studies. 16 years ago, she co-founded Play in the Wild, which is initiations into nonviolence for youth, families and educators. She's been a keynote speaker at conferences, a TED presenter, and hosted many programs that embody her actionable ideal that world peace is achievable in her lifetime. Her work with her Indigenous roots, elders and teachers has informed her life work and interdependent relationship with nature. She's an NVC certified trainer and also authored Peaceable Revolution Through Education. Catherine is a change maker and a peace worker and a friend and an ally to many. And Jesse's a dad, an artist, an advocate and facilitator. 16 years ago, he founded Zen NVC, an approach to the practice of NVC that integrates meditation, mindfulness and inner work. In this, he draws from his own Chinese American heritage. 7 years living and practicing in Zen monasteries and training with NVC founder Marshall Rosenberg and the Center for Understanding in Conflict co-founder Gary Friedman. Jesse's also an NVC certified trainer and volunteer with Bay NVC's Restorative Justice Program. Together, Jessie and Catherine are the devoted parents of 2 daughters and live their practices every day at home, including today, where they've got children and dogs in their home. They live this practice on and off the meditation cushion, one day at a time. So I'd love to hand over to Catherine and Jessie.
Thank you, Wendy. Wow, I'm just, I used to do a thing on morning radio that was on mindfulness and nonviolent communication, and they would often complain how much like silent air I produced, and they're like, "You're not supposed to put silence on the radio." But sometimes there's just not words. There's just the breath with the gratitude. So we'd like to open with something, we're here celebrating this book. I have a copy of it. And I hope you'll get a copy of it soon. Just deeply appreciating the illustrations. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And we purposely shifted the opening meditation and really reminded people this time that loving kindness is a meditation that we can root ourselves in. It's something that we can return to, something that can become part of, the moment that your naked 2-year-old climbing out of the tub and running through the hallway, and your 7-year-old is screaming for their supper, and you take a breath and you return like, oh yeah, loving kindness. It's an anywhere user-friendly meditation. And it's also something we put in the front as a reminder that when you utilize this book in a group form, because that was something that was so important to us, that we put in the hands of everybody something they can create together, that then there's also a meditation to return to as a group as things arise. And so I'll actually just read exactly what we wrote. Loving kindness is about connection, an offering of unconditional love for ourselves and others. In this, we are not trying to achieve a certain feeling or belief. We are gathering all our attention behind an intention to connect in and to and offer the energy of love and kindness that already exists in life and in our own heart. So I want to invite us, just take a moment right now, wherever you are. If you're driving, please do not close your eyes. And just take a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth to just remind you of that beautiful presence of life that's always ongoing in your own body all the time without you having to think about it. And if where you are supports it, you can just gently close your eyes or gently find a focus. And as you take this breath in and out, connecting to the presence of life that's with you all the time, maybe notice just the edges of your lips curling up, just a slight smile, not exaggerated, not overt, just simple reminder. Reminder of the smiling Buddha, a reminder of the smiling child. And letting that energy float inward towards yourself, noticing the belly soften as we allow it inward. This gentle, loving kindness towards ourselves. Maybe even placing your hands on your belly as it softens, as a gentle reminder of how we'd like to be held. And with the breath, opening the hands, letting them open on your lap. Noticing, if you're ready, allowing the loving kindness to gently move outward. In this moment, just a gentle reminder of what it is to touch the loving kindness in us. To touch, allowing the loving kindness to move out from us. A moment of reminding ourselves that we want to be free from suffering. That in this space, we want others to be free from suffering. Just a moment, just an experiment in truth in this moment, touching the loving kindness that lives within us. The gentle wish, the gentle vow. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. So from this place, it seems most natural to move into a few gratitudes. So please stay in whatever form you would like to be in for the rest of the call, whether it's right in that blissful place with your eyes closed. Maybe hopefully some of you fell asleep. And Jesse and I would like to thank a few people. There's a lot of gratitude in our heart, and there's a lot of people that made this beautiful piece, this symphony, arrive into the world.
This book is truly a community effort. For this edition in particular, we had to take a moment to thank Maya Diaz, who is not here with us today because in Europe it's in the AM hours and she's hopefully getting some good rest. But you'll see her when we do a book launch for the Spanish edition, which she is working hard on. And it was her inspiration to want to help birth a Spanish edition that inspired us eventually to come around to the fundraiser that helped also birth the second edition. so her motivation, and then her collaborator Raed from Simple Cat in Spain for jumping in with 2 feet, and the 4 of us really became the team to help this whole project unfold this year. There's so many Ongo community members who gave us feedback and input. Wendy, who's here on this call and introduced us, Kate, who you'll hear from in a little bit, Jeff Jocelyn, Michelle Tal, who's also on this call, and many others. And all of them gave us feedback and input that really helped make the second edition better than we could have on our own, because they were field testing it. You know, they were doing it every day with their Ongo book groups, and letting us know what was working, what we could use some more expansion on. So we're so grateful to them for all their input that helped make the second edition incredible.
And I want to throw in there too a thank you to known and unknown folks who has either sent us emails over the years, or anonymous emails, or feedback. I did go read all the reviews of the book on all the different forums of the first book. So there's been feedbacks in lots of other venues and ways that we did take into.
We're also thrilled with the team we assembled for the actual production of the book. Our cover artist, Jennifer Hewitson, who really nailed, you know, what we were going for. That's an actual artwork she created by hand, using scratchboard in her block print style, and we had sought her out specifically because we were looking for something like what she ended up creating. And then our editor, Dennis Crean, who we're just moved by that he ever took up the project of editing both the Ongo book and the second edition, because he was been an editor for Thich Nhat Hanh. And so we just feel honored that he would lend his talents to our book as well. We had design support from Hadley Gustafson, who we're grateful for. And then for the new forwards for the second edition, Lucy Liu, founder of the Freedom Project, former Center for Nonviolent Communication board president,
Everything.
editor for Marshall with the first nonviolent communication book, that she and Shantam Seth, who's one of the foremost experts, you know, living experts on the original sites of the Buddha, and takes people on pilgrimage there every year. Both of them for not just being willing, but being enthusiastically contributing to the book and writing the forwards for our new edition. Very touched by what both of them wrote and how they kind of seamlessly welcome the reader into the flow of the book itself. And Kate Raffin, who I'd love to just bring your voice in for a moment, who beautifully illustrated the book. We first and second edition.
Week by week.
Week by week, taking you from the seed of a Bodhi tree to a fully flourishing tree. I'm gonna go on mute so you can hear from Kate and not from our 2-year-old Gloria right now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jesse, and everyone. I guess this, I actually went and dug out the originals. So what was really sweet about this was that I started this small, this A4 size page, and went, yeah, I can just fit the tree, it'll just grow. And then it kept growing beyond the limpness of the page. So I had to keep re-going. So I had to end up this size because the tree just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more life. And I guess it just feels like a very strong metaphor from the seed that started to the massive impact I get that Ongo's having on the planet, and just dropping the seeds. And it was such great and bring just some joy for me to draw into this, because I'd had so much fun, you know, playing Ongo when it was an online, just on the telephone before Zoom and things, when for years we were running, or you were running them and I was hanging out. So yeah, it was just fun to do that. And yeah, I like seeing the drawings in the book. I just enjoy seeing them. Sometimes they get easily missed, and then, oh, there's drawings, that's right, yeah. So just fun to collaborate to me, and I really like that it's I thought about doing an Ongo calendar maybe, and we could have a calendar.
That's right.
12 weeks and then just a pile of leaves. But yeah, really fun. Yeah,
Well,
thanks.
for the folks that don't know, this is the original cover, and those are actually our hands. And Wendy Johnson, one of my first meditation teachers at San Francisco Zen Center down at Green Gulch, those are her hands. And this was actually when we were all with Shantam Set at a Buddha site in India, planting a Bodhi tree. And so, you know, oftentimes people are like, oh, where'd you find that stock photo? Like, no, that's real people that we know. And I think this might have been the photo we gave you of like, oh, there's the Bodhi tree. And then I think, I can't remember, but this one, I remember you were practicing leaves or something, and this was like a little something extra. And then when you saw it in the book, you were surprised because it was like an extra. And it just, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to Jesse and I that it's the last page in the book, right? Like, yeah, I'm not going to explain it. Everyone can figure it out for themselves, but I just love that. Yeah, I'm so deeply honored your photo, I mean, I feel like every time you put line to page, Kate, it's like a prayer or a blessing, and to have that all through the book is really meaningful. I'm going to cry a lot, so people are just going to have to accept that.
Well, and
he's going to cry a lot too.
well, that brings us to that, you know, why we wrote the book. You know, I'm thinking of this now as Catherine's sharing her tears, because in part we wanted to continue to share the practices that we had lived in our lives and had studied. And we wanted to share that with others in as distilled, clear form as we could. And, you know, as Catherine alluded to when we first jumped on the call, these are practices we're living in our life every day. The 2-year-old running out of the bathtub naked while the dog's barking and our 7-year-old's asking for dinner, you know, all of that's actually happening literally 5 minutes before the start of this gathering, right? So in those moments when all of these things are happening simultaneously and we're needing to hold this international gathering, there's the utilizing of the practices. And those practices came from our backgrounds, both individually and then together. And I want to give you all an image for a moment. This is Catherine and I in 2008 with our teacher Ram Dass. So the teachers we quote in the book, the practices we put in there are all ones that we utilized in our lives and were passed down, you know, were received from our teachers.
I have a comment about that photo. It's just, I think I've told this story before. And so Ram Dass is someone I met fortunately in my 20s. And so I was very blessed to get to sit with him many times, before his stroke, then after his stroke, when like there was so much more that happened. And the movie Fierce Grace is very powerful to watch about what he learned and went through at that time of his stroke. And then he ended up moving to Maui, and I really wanted Jesse to meet him. And so we took a trip, and so I took Jesse to introduce him. And of course, there was this whole gathering, and then he came in, you know, he was brought in, you know, in his wheelchair and everything. And I got really nervous, right? I got really nervous. And so I didn't say anything to him. And so then the whole talk begins. And then, you know, he's up on the dais and he's giving the talk, and he immediately opens the talk about how often in practice and in our learning, we put God way up here, and then our guru, our teacher here, and then we're like, we're down here, you know, we put ourselves way down here. And he was talking about how it's really, you know, God, guru, me, you know, and, you know, bringing it really to a circle. And So then in that moment, you know, like it kind of opened up and there was a pause. So I immediately kind of just raised my hand and he called on me and I said, Ram Dass, you know, I was experiencing that. I was going, God, Ram Dass, me. And I didn't say hi to you when I first saw you. And and he goes, hi. And that just so enlivened me. I jumped up and I ran, you know, I just jumped up on the dais and I gave him a big hug and he whispered in my ear and he goes, was it that hard? And I was just, you know, so I think it's like, even after all those years, we can still, our mind can just put us in this place. And I think that really is one of the things about this book that's so important to Jesse and I, that it's that, you know, these practices aren't something that, you know, someone gets to keep them, you know, and they're the gatekeeper of them. It's really, it's like, you know, like Gandhi said at one point, you know, there's nothing new about nonviolence. It's as old as the hills, you know. So I don't know how much new stuff is in here. I mean, I know what's the difference between the two books, the old one and the new one, but, you know, as far as practice, it's like, you know, we're all on that path together at every moment. So anyway, that's what that photo reminded me of, which I didn't know was going to be shown. So that's kind of fun.
And it's one of the things I really love about the Ongo book is just what a leaderful community that this program creates. So I'm just honoring that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I want to take us back to 2010 for a minute, because that was when we,
what's going on here. This is great.
that was when we created the first, you know, Ongo. Was just a teleconference call at that time, as Kate was talking about. And if you look at this world map, those hearts are all the places that Catherine and I were teaching, either together or individually. Most of these are trips together. And the reason I'm putting this up is just to show how, at the time that we were kind of dreaming in Ongo, we were in touch with so many practitioners all around the world directly live, you know, pre-pandemic, right? So it was all in person. And we were gathering, in a way, field research, basically, of the state of practice in nonviolent communication and mindfulness. And what we were finding was a few things that were just common themes. We were finding that in many places there are people without access to any kinds of trainers or teachers. In many places there were practice groups, either nonviolent communication or sanghas, Buddhist sanghas, that were in some kind of crisis or just stuck. They weren't able to progress in their learning and they weren't finding it very supportive to continue. So they're sort of just dissipating or disbanding. We were meeting so many people who were used to going to one-off workshops and retreats and then not knowing how to continue. We found there was a real yearning to learn more about real world practice, how all these kinds of tools and practices would apply outside of workshops and retreats. And then finally, we saw that there was no single resource that we could point to that integrated together all the different practices we were sharing with people. You know, there was a nonviolent communication book or a Buddhist text or this and that, but nothing was really integrating these pieces together that we saw as so vitally complementary to one another. And so that all of that was really the backdrop of where Ongo came from for us. It was really wanting to be able to have a resource that we could bring forward to address all of that. And so that sort of led us in 2010 to develop what we called Ongo. And Ongo is based, the word Ongo is based on two things. In Japanese, Ongo actually means a rains retreat or practice period in Zen Buddhism. So the 3-month period of kind of traditionally where practitioners, monks would cloister themselves or come in under the trees to do their intensive study or meditation practice for 3 months or 12 weeks. And that format, which we were used to from our experience in living in Buddhist temples and sanghas, was one that we found extremely supportive for what we realized was really the basis of our answer to all of this, which is this kind of ongoing practice. And that leads us to the other meaning of Ongo, which is ongo as in ongoing. So these practices are not the practices like, you know, you pick it up once, you ride it like riding a bike, and then you have it for the rest of your life. We really have to practice them on a daily level to embody them and to integrate them.
Well, that always reminds me exactly. Jack Kornfield was one of my first meditation teachers I always joke back before when Spirit Rock was just a rock. And I remember he used to say, so if you want to check on how your practice is, go home for a holiday. And so, you know, I mean, we have 2 young kids, so we're getting lots of practice every day and reminders of how our practice is going.
Yeah.
Big breath in. And out.
Loving kindness meditation at the beginning was lovely. So,
I should make a meme or something that says, when you're a parent, loving kindness meditation is the vacation.
right. So I want to put in one more piece here about what we feel is really special about how Ongo developed, which is that when we started with that online practice period, which again was just teleconference calls back in 2010, what we had the opportunity to do was over the next 7 years to keep refining and testing essentially our curriculum. So we got feedback directly every single time we ran those, sometimes 3 times a year. We got feedback from the people we were working with, hundreds of participants by the end, of what was working and helping them to practice on a daily level and what wasn't, or what they didn't understand or comprehend. So we were kind of running our own field test or focus group for the Ongo book for 7 years. And that's, I think, when I look back at the book now today and the practices in it, I think that's part of what makes it so solid, is that it's really had a lot of, it's been through a lot of people's hands and been practiced in a lot of people's lives. So fast forward, 2017, we ran a successful Kickstarter. The community helped us fundraise so we could produce the first edition. And 5 years later, after thousands of people have been working with that book, we decided to produce the second edition. And we're really, really excited about that.
I was gonna just throw in there, can I just share with everyone like my 2 favorite parts of the book?
Yeah.
I mean, I love all the book, but so when Jesse and I were writing the book the first time, about the quotes, I think it was just like it was just a few days before we were about to publish, and I said, Jesse, I have an idea. It's, we always honor our teachers in person. We need to do a dedication to the teachers in the book. So then like we didn't have kids in that moment for the first book, so we were able to really dig in deep and kind of go nonstop through the night. And we made sure that we acknowledged every quote in the book, and so that we could either give you a little bit of a connection to our teacher or the meaningfulness for us of why that quote was chosen. And so in 2.0, we changed out a lot of the quotes. And so again, that's my new favorite section. If that was all you read of the book, I think that would just be really rich and juicy, because it points you in the direction of all the influences we had. And then I deeply appreciate the gratitude section, and we did write some new gratitudes because it's a new book, and and it's important that we acknowledge, these were, look at all those names, for the Kickstarter to make sure this book got to people. So, it's like it's people fueled. This is really community that's brought this out into the world. So those are kind of my 2 favorite parts of the book.
And while we're on that topic, I'm just going to name some of the other new parts for those who are familiar with the first edition. Some of the things we're excited about with the second edition. So I put them down on a cheat sheet here so that I could remember. One of the first ones, which was requested, was actually expanded guidance for working with trauma that arises in a group with a buddy and on one's own. A big one for us was giving full guidance for groups that are practicing online, especially in the pandemic era. Everyone's familiar with Zoom now, and it's such a tremendous resource that people can practice and gather non-locally, globally. And so in the second edition now, it has full guidance for how you can meet either in person or online, so you can choose. Also at this point, there's quite a number of people who've practiced Ongo with the first edition several times, and they've asked about, well, how might we continue the Ongo beyond the curriculum offered in the book? So we created a whole chapter this time with principles, guidelines, and a full template for how you would do that, where you might introduce some new practices to the group that aren't in the book. And I saw a question somewhere, somebody asking about how you feel about facilitators asking participants to contribute financially when they join a group. And I'll just tackle that one here with this, which is that we actually put that guidance into this new book because that's come up as a question. And one of the principles we put in there around Ongo is that Ongo book groups, in our mind, should always be freely offered on one level, in the sense that, you know, the intention has always been to decentralize or you know, kind of remove the expert class and say, all you need is a book, and you have, and as a leaderful group together, you will guide each other through Ongo. So you shouldn't be a fee structure to charge to guide people through it. But at the same time, we're not against, you know, facilitators or hosts who are putting in a lot of energy and effort to organize the group and maybe even have gone through it a few times and want to lead it. We're not against them asking for contributions or donations, as long as people could still participate, you know, freely, and there isn't like a paywall gateway. But that's just one of the many guidelines we put in there for people who are wanting to continue Ongo groups in the, going forward. We've got new practices. Catherine mentioned loving kindness practice. We added some practices around finding the courage to speak, because we know that can be challenging for some people, making that shift from just empathizing with others to actually standing up in your truth. We added a standing nonviolence meditation to a group practice, which is something that I'll lead us through a short version of it at the end of this call. And we've also updated pretty much, you know, we went through the entire book, every page, line by line, and we combed through it and just looked at what would we change knowing what we know now? What would we change based on the feedback we've heard? And so the whole book has had that eye over it. There are many things we left intact, but I would say we probably added about 25% new material. And you'll see that when you go through the book. There's just a lot of little new things, even small changes here and there that we felt would increase the effectiveness, the strength, or the flow of certain practices. So that's a quick look at that. I'm just gonna quickly share my screen just to show you a few images from what I'm talking about, so that you can get a picture of it. And I'm just curious, is everyone able to see that? The book there. Is that clear? Yeah.
Yes,
So I'm not going to go through the whole table of contents, but you can preview that on our book website, which is ongobook.com. But I wanted to show you some of the new things. So, for example, you know, I mentioned a little bit more explicit instruction around trauma, and there is some, you know, some of the guidance around what might happen during a group gathering if traumas arise for people. We added loving kindness meditation to the group practices, and practices on, say, the courage to speak with a fun new kind of visual journaling practice around that. Continuing Ongo with integrity. These are some of the principles we found that are really key to what makes Ongo work, and the guidelines for introducing new forms to it, and a template. And the leading group practice online chapter with full guidance for every chapter on how you would adapt it to an online group. So these are just some of the new bits and pieces, and you can see some other thumbnails of that on our ongobook.com website. So I wanted to name a couple things that are actually coming down the pipe really soon, because someone asked, for example, do we have a directory of current or soon to be online Ongo groups? And this is some of the things we're most excited about, is that I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks, our website developer is working hard on it now, and you can see there's a in progress version of it up on the Ongo companion website now, which you get access to when you purchase the book. But so the free Ongo companion website actually will soon have a feature where you can list your Ongo group if you're organizing one, and you want to do it online and you want people to be able to find you, it also is you can list it for local people to find you. So you can list it by geography. And then anyone can find you on this global Ongo finder. You can search by location, you can search by online or in person, you can look for even when the group's meeting on a weekly basis. I'm very excited about this because I think it's going to expand dramatically the possibilities for Ongo groups. Anyone could just start one and gather people through the Ongo Companion website. Also coming really soon are ebook versions of the Ongo book. And we've been working hard on that to try to make sure that the ebook version is easy to use for someone who is, for example, trying to flip back and forth between leading a group and trying to get the online instructions, so that it will be completely hyperlinked so you can jump around the ebook really easily. And our ebook converters have done a great job of making it look very much like the visual feel of the hard copy, which was really important to us. And then finally, the Spanish edition is coming soon. And like I said, Maya Diaz and her support team are working hard on that. So I would say within the next 2 months, you can expect to see the Spanish edition as well. And we'll do a special book launch for that too. And that will come with ebooks. So I want to take a moment here to just check and see if there's any other questions that people might have. You can post it in the Q&A, you can raise your hand. There's a couple hands raised now, so I'm just gonna call on you, and if you have anything you want to ask or share, you're welcome to. Start with Sonia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Sonia.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm feeling one of those shy moments. I have no idea that I had put my hand up, so I'm blushing right now. But I'm sitting here in a beautiful rainforest setting with a girlfriend, and we've just finished running the 12-week course on our community here. And so, you know, we're both enjoying hearing about the new version, because we're planning on, it was a women's Ongo group on our community, and we had great success, you know, many tears, many heartfelt moments that have never happened on this community before. So we're hoping to invite the men in the next round of it. So I didn't have a question, and I didn't realize to put my hand up, but that's what I would like to share with you both. And all of you, such gratitude. And Wendy, thank you for running the first Ongo group 3 years ago. It still lives and breathes, and now I'm sharing it with others. So thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sonia.
Sonia, thank you. I'm so glad we did get to hear from you, because I'm just so touched.
Yeah.
Sorry, I might have cut you off there. Let me see, Maria. Did you have a question? I saw you raise your hand, or something you wanted to share.
Actually, I did not have a question, but I am now really fascinated to from what I just heard all of you say. So I would like to get a copy of the Ongo book and look at it. And I'm thinking that in my heart, I'm wishing, oh, I wish that this had come to me before, that I would have received this, because it seems to me that it's quite a gift for anybody. But if, you know, for people like myself who need some guidance in kindness and compassion, especially when my interests, you know, are a little bit in contrast to others, this I think would have been a very good thing for me to have learned, and therefore now I am encouraged to really acquire a copy and look at it diligently. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah.
Let's see, Michelle.
Hello, it's lovely to be with you all today. We are very delighted to be we've just finished week 5 actually using the new Ongo book. I just really feel really supported and really held by the stuff that I see is very trauma informed, and we've already used a loving kindness meditation in a moment where there was lots of tears. And it's awesome to be able to call in an empathy circle as required, which I'm sure was always a possibility, but it's helpful for me to have that in the structure as well. And I just want to celebrate being in person again. My goodness, we did about 5 Ongo groups in person and then went online for about 5 groups. And I was really touched by how intimate the groups can be online. And now I'm delighted at remembering what it's like to be face to face with people, and the humor that gets inserted and the connections, and how we're actually really building community locally because all this 11 beautiful women coming together are supporting each other. Yay, celebration.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Woo-hoo.
Thank you for helping refine our online instructions. That was such a huge gift for this edition. While we're waiting for a few more hands to show up, I just want to show really quickly that if you're wanting to purchase the Ongo book, please go to ongobook.com. And I apologize that I didn't quite get the chat thing right for this one, but I will see if I can put this in here somewhere. But it's easy to remember, ongobook.com, ongobook.com. Joyously Joy, love to hear from you.
Well, hi, Catherine and Jessie and Wendy and Kate, and all the amazing collaborators. I'm very, I'd say, new to Ongo, and I'm still waiting for the Mulaney Ongo group to fully form. And my question is that I'm really curious how to incorporate this into, I suppose it's in the education of children, and in coaching, because I often am asking them about their goals and to talk about their true feelings, not what they think their parents want them to say, and in a way describe to me their needs of how they can feel safe and encouraged and supported. So I just wondered if there are some ways beyond Ongo where I might access online resources for teachers.
So some of the practices that are in the book really arrived via my classroom, bringing practices into the classroom. Because everything I try, when I was working in public school, I would get 30 kindergartners meditating, because you can when you sit down and hold the space. So yeah, I would say, use your creativity and play with the practices and how they might apply, or just bringing them directly. I know children and youth love to do, our daughter is so skilled at role play. She'll often ask, hey, can I practice this conversation with you, Mom? I have something to do today at school, or, I mean, she's 7, and just last Friday, during a conflict on the playground, she got in the middle to be like, so there's ways to bring it in that are just simply by not overthinking it, because and I mean that as something that I learn and relearn every day, because kids often it's not that big a deal when they take a breath. They do reset. It actually happens for them. Where for me, as in this 56-year-old body, I take a breath. That's kind of nice. Then I take another breath, and then I start thinking about what I should have done during the day, and then I take another breath, and maybe 10 or 15 breaths later, I might be getting closer to what I'm, the centering that we're all striving for, right? So I would say use your creativity and play with it with the youth. Empathy circles, particularly the form that we introduce in the book, came straight out of my work in the classroom and with youth particularly. So the forms aren't necessarily geared or for adults, they're for humans.
Yeah.
Although I've had dogs in circles, but we can go off on that tangent later. So yeah, I would encourage you to try it out. And then, the companion website, there's chats and forums that begin to happen, and you can bring ideas there and get feedback from other people, what other people try. Because I know a lot of educators. In fact, we had gotten so many requests from educators one time. We ran a program through Play in the Wild specifically for educators, but it was pretty much like an Ongo for educators, just to get them into the practices and doing work on the self, but then being able to integrate it and bring it in the classroom. So yeah, I'm glad you asked the question. It's very exciting to hear that it would be taken to the youth.
Thank you, Joy.
Wow. Oh, thanks so much. That was such an in-depth answer. I'm scribbling notes frantically, and I hope I'm still recording some of this. So thanks again so much. And I think you hit the hammer on the nail head. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but about really just getting creative and not overthinking it. I can do that too. Oops. Yeah. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Joy.
Joy. So, as we come to a close, I wanted to give you all an experience of the standing nonviolence meditation, which we added to the book as well. And this is a practice that in part originated with our work on Play in the Wild with the youth, and also Catherine's classroom, and also both of our backgrounds in meditation, Tai Chi and yoga and Qigong, and indigenous traditions. And so I just want to invite you wherever you are, and you can actually do this sitting as well as standing. But if it's easy for you to stand, as I am now, just taking a moment here to feel your feet on the earth, whether you're sitting or standing. And allow the muscles in your feet and your legs to just gently relax and absorb and receive the support of the earth. And take a deep breath and just feel how the earth is holding you, is supporting you. And as you take another deep breath, allow the crown of your head to rise towards the sky. And feel that gentle stretch in your spine as you feel that awakeness and aliveness come into your body. Extending your feet deep into the earth, drawing the crown high up into the sky. And as you continue to breathe and feel that, bring your awareness to your back body, feeling the back of your neck, back of your back. And feel how behind you, extending way back, just as your feet extend into the earth, is your ancestors, your experiences, your history, all your sorrow and all your triumphs behind you, and all your ancestors' triumphs and sorrows behind you, informing who you are today, giving you strength, giving you wisdom, supporting you. Then draw your awareness to your front body, your heart, your face, feeling it extend forward, far forward, into the future, your descendants, the future generations, your legacy, all that you will do and all who you will influence in your life, all of your accumulated wisdom, sorrows and triumphs going forward to inform the future. Breathe and feel that legacy that you will leave, that mark you will leave on this earth. Then finally draw your awareness to your side body, extending to both sides. Far out, feeling the companionship of the people around you. The people on this call, your friends and loved ones, your Ongo Book community if you have one, your group. All those who walk beside you today on this path of nonviolence. To lean into, to hold you up, to rest your arms on. As you take another deep breath and integrate all that together inside you in the center of your body, in your belly, in your hara, your dantian. Placing your hands there, feeling your connection to the earth, to the sky, to the past, to the future, and to all those who stand beside you today. I invite you to breathe and go out from this place into your life, into whatever's next for you today. Carrying that wisdom, that compassion, that strength, and that support with you. Thank you for joining us in this call, this book launch event. So grateful to be celebrating this with you.